If you are having a hard time setting boundaries, boundaries that protect your peace, boundaries that help you feel safe, that help you to feel regulated in your body, or just help you to feel like you're in alignment with whatever it is that you want to be or you want to do, I want you to hear this message. Something interesting happened this morning, and it got me to thinking about boundaries and how, as a species, human beings, when we set a boundary, we've been conditioned a lot of times or socialized a lot of times to feel guilt behind drawing a line in the sand and saying this is what I'm okay with, and over here this is not what I'm okay with. A lot of times we just kind of like grin and bear it. We don't speak up, we don't say anything when people trample our boundaries, especially if we don't have the voice to even say what our boundaries are. And that was me for a very long time, and it's still actually something that I am working on. But as I think about the woman that I am wanting to activate or embody, she is confident in setting boundaries as she needs to, and there and not allowing herself to be overrun with like feelings of guilt for prioritizing, again, like her peace, her safety, her well-being, her nervous system being regulated, her rest, you know what I mean? So recently, actually today, what got me to thinking about this is, so my daughter has a kitten, I have a doodle, and they be in the house, chopping it up. And there are times when the kitten just gets out of control, as kittens tend to do. And today was one of those days. My doodle was just kind of like lounging about, and the kitten was just being a kitten. And she just took it from like a 3 or 4 to a 10, you know. And usually my dog is like, whatever, but today she just wasn't having it. And that's okay. So she made this barking sound, and the kitten understood that. And she was just like, okay, I understand. Thank you for letting me know, And she went off and she started chasing something else. And it's funny because when my dog was done with this quick little bark that expressed her boundary and said basically, hey, this, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to interact with you in this way right now. She just didn't look around, didn't come to me for attention, didn't ask me, was that okay that I do that? Or I'm sure she wasn't questioning, was that okay? And obviously we know that dogs don't have the logic to do that. I'm making a point though, but you know what I mean. But she just laid down and she enjoyed her space. She enjoyed the peace that she needs today. And so, again, especially black women, black daughters, is firstborn, you know what I mean? I'm sure you fall in there somewhere as a black woman, firstborn, daughter, something. A lot is put upon us. We're getting it from all sides. And I know when I was growing up, it was not okay for me to have a boundary. I have vivid memories of basically, and I didn't really know what boundaries were when I was younger, but I have vivid memories of times when there was something that I didn't want to do. And I'm not talking about like homework or cleaning my room. I'm talking about something like just something that I didn't want to do because it didn't feel right to me, or it didn't feel safe, or it just didn't feel like something that I should be accepting of. And if I would say no, I would maybe get berated, yelled at, cussed out, ignored, silent treatment, that kind of thing, punished basically. And so I learned early on that having boundaries was not safe for me, because I didn't want to be, you don't want to be shunned by a caregiver, someone that's supposed to give you support and care and love, You don't want to be shunned from the community, or made to feel guilty because you said no, or you didn't want to do this thing for someone else. And so it just kind of like evolved, and the older I got, the harder it was for me to be able to set firm boundaries. And so I allowed people to basically walk all over me. Oh, you want me to do that? And yes, sure, and let me do it even more than what you wanted or expected. You know what I mean? Just it's something, but just saying no would just bring up so much guilt and so much questioning and confusion in my body. And I feel like if something is causing you, like causing you to feel guilty and all this confusion in your nervous system, and it just feels like a jumble of nerves and fear of being able to express yourself, that needs to be looked at with a hard eye or with a gentle eye, but it needs to be looked at because maybe you too were conditioned to feel like you could not set a boundary with your space, with your body, with your time, with your capacity, with your energy, with your support, like whatever. It just was not okay for you to set a boundary. So now that I'm obviously a woman of a certain age, living my best boring life, it has become easier. Not easy, but easier to set boundaries. Just the more you do the work of healing, which can look like different things for different people, but the more you begin to do the work with your healing and living, like viewing yourself as a whole person versus this fragmented person that has to people please and do all these other things, it definitely becomes easier to have the courage to set a boundary, and not only have the courage to do that, but also have the courage to disappoint people that may be disappointed. And you know, there are going to be people that are disappointed when you set a boundary. That is honestly not your concern. It really, really isn't. It's not your concern that you had to set a boundary with someone and they did not respect it or didn't try to ignore it or whatever. And when that actually happens, if people continue to disrespect you by not honoring the boundaries that you've set, it is up to you how you want to proceed. Maybe you disengage. Maybe you leave the room. Maybe you move out. Maybe you cut off contact. Maybe you have more conversations. You know, it really just depends on what the situation is, of course. So your mileage may vary, but it's up to you to make sure that your boundaries are respected. You first, of course, have to express them, like my dog did by telling the kitten, "Back up, dude, I'm tired." So you must express your boundaries. The more you do it, the easier it will become. Again, I'm not saying that there won't be feelings of feeling bad for disappointing people. Of course, we're conditioned to feel bad when we have to tell someone no. We must be willing to give all of ourselves at all times to anyone, you know. That's what they say. But yeah, there's going to be feelings, and you'll learn how to sit with those and process them, and you'll see what's yours and what's really not, and what you can take away as a lesson if necessary, or discard the rest, and it'll just get easier and easier. But yeah, if someone continuously, after you've expressed your boundary and after you've had conversations, you know, they're still trying to force you through guilt, gaslighting, shame, guilt, abuse, violence, you know what I mean, shunning, that kind of thing, where it's clear that they do not have the emotional depth or capacity or even the willingness to be in community with you in a healthy, less dysfunctional or non-dysfunctional way. You really have to see if that's something that you want to, how you want to continue with that, you know. So yeah, that's it for today. Just wanted to talk about boundaries really quick. Today is day 55 or so of my 90-day YouTube challenge, where I'm coming to the camera every single day to just be more comfortable in my skin and to continue learning how to express myself and use my voice in the way that I feel like I am meant to use my voice. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. You have an amazing day. Leave a comment if you'd like to talk about boundaries. I'll hit you up in the comments as well. I'd love to hear your dialogue around all the topics that I bring to the table here, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.